at the end of the day, Call of the Night Season 2 is all fun and games. It's just an anime. We're here just to enjoy it. But it's just sad to see such a strong character with a very checkered past. She lost her dad to vampires. Thus, she wanted to kill all vampires, including Nazuna, a very close friend of hers that, well, is pretty much a vampire. And it's just sad to see that, yeah, sure, you did it for your own personal reasons, and those personal reasons were very just, self harming. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, she did have the moral high ground. She even mentioned how Ko was only 14 years old. So here's the person in question who has just totally flipped the script. She no longer wants to kill vampires. She no longer feels vengeful. She no longer wants to deal with her past self. That just is really broken. She witnessed her dad turn into a vampire, and her dad ended up killing her mom. This shit, especially when you're young, can really affect you. And like it did to her, she went on a 10-year tirade. You know what I'm saying? Like just pure emotional hatred, revenge, just bloodlust towards vampires. And like I said earlier, she had the moral right. She was in the right direction. These vampires are preying on a lot of people who are mentally weak, physically weak, underage, not meant, they're just not right in the head. And it's just sad to see someone like Anko right here, this girl. Obviously she's drunk, so she's not really sober, but for her to be like, hey, you should really get physical with a 14-year-old Ko in order for him to develop emotions, even more emotions, stronger emotions. Despite her knowing 100% full well knowing that he's still human. She even made this argument in the anime. It's just sad to see someone just flip her morals just like that, just because she's over her vengefulness. She should still try to self-correct Nazuna and be like, hey Nazuna, he's still just a kid. You do realize that. And while I'm not cool with that, I'm no longer vengeful and trying to kill all these fucking vampires. But no, she's actually, and like I said, she is drunk. So I gotta, she's acting unhinged and uncanny and just saying whatever. She's just, like I said, unhinged. So she's not really in control of what she's saying. But a lot of things that she is saying, what they say, when you're drunk, your true self comes out. So she's over here saying, oh, you should get even more intimate with Ko. Give him a little kiss. Give him this and that. Oh, you already hit first base. Well, good for you. And, she uses really these words of, oh, you should get even more. It's just honestly sad to see someone who was an anti-hero, someone who I thought was probably in the right 100. No, she is in the right to want to kill all vampires. Because like I said, they're just predatorial. They don't really take the blood with consent. And when they do it at the hospital. Which in the same case, in the same breath, they are technically stealing. It's not like they're taking his blood willy-nilly, through donations. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's just this anime, like I said, it's all fun and games. None of this is fucking real. But when the anime characters themselves know that shit is not right, I'm simply speaking about the characters in the anime and their morals as they are as a person. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, despite this being like, it's like any other book. If you read a book, you read a story, and when the characters themselves are contradictory, you just know they're fucking hypocrites. Especially here with Anko, even though, like I said, she was self-harming herself mentally about this, she was still morally right. She was still morally superior. She had the right to be on her high horse. But now that she's trying to give up all that, all her bloodlust and vengeance and hate, sadness, depression, wanting to self-delete and all this other stuff. All right, that's great. You're healthier now mentally. You know what I'm saying? You're now mentally healthier. You're mentally right. You're good. But that doesn't mean you should just throw your morals out the fucking window. Like I said, she is a little bit drunk. Gotta give it to her that. But even then, when she was sober, she wasn't really mentioning how, hey, Nazuna, you're kind of, being immoral to a human. And it's just funny because everyone, even within the anime, people would probably argue, outside the anime, someone like, oh yeah, Ko is a little bit mentally mature. He's mature for his age. Fuck that shit. He's still 14. He's still hanging out in the middle of the fucking night. He should be home. Even if he, let's say if you think he is mentally right. He is mentally mature. He would have the wherewithal to know that he shouldn't be out there hanging out with Nazuna in the middle of the fucking night, busting into schools, going to a Halloween party. Where's his parents? Where's the guardian supervision? You know what I'm saying? No 14-year-old should be out willy-nilly in some restaurant, chilling with people who his parents don't even know, without permission, without supervision, without an adult there. So even if you believe Ko is a little bit mentally mature, he should have the wherewithal. He should have hindsight 2020 to know that everything that he's doing right now, he shouldn't be doing as a 14-year-old boy. He should be home with his parents, or just home in general, not hanging out, keeping his parents updated, and asking for permission to go out or not. And let's say the parents don't give two shits about him. Fine, they don't give two shits about him. He should still be home if he is this mature, but obviously he's not mature enough to know all this. And I'm not gonna knock him for that. He's still just a kid. He's still just a kid. I can't knock him for that. To not know that he should be home. But that proves my point. That drives it even further. That what Nazuna's doing to Koi, trying to turn him into a vampire through love and affection, all this other bullshit. Of course he doesn't know what love is. He's still just a child. He doesn't know who he is. In the context of the anime, it's true. In the context of the anime. Alright, this anime is not real. I get it. But in the context of the anime, he's still just a child. Context of the anime, Uncle was morally right. She was in the right. Now she's contradicting herself. Kind of low-key accepting all this shit. Telling them they should smooch even more. Get more intimate. See, look. Don't you underestimate the power of pleasure. This is Anko's words. This is her pushing them further. Giving advice to a 14-year-old and some 40-year-old immoral vampire. It's just sad to see that someone who was in the moral right just get shit faced and not give two shits.